All right. We started yesterday with the pipeline, and I introduced you with pipeline. We started yesterday with the pipelining and data path together, and I introduced you with the fundamental concepts of it. So I'm going to go with the same thing today, but we are going to enrich the learning by adding more content to it. Very simple. Remember, we are going to learn only the 5 stage pipelining. And as you know, the 5 stages are tagged as instruction fetch, instruction decode or register read, execution, memory access, and write back. And all of these are to be properly segregated, and I have put a blue line in between, and that's the each of the pipeline stage. So remember it, all the stages are tagged appropriately in this. And this is what we discussed in the last class. And remember, everything goes from left to right. There are cases where things may come back from right to left, but most of the scenarios happen only from left to right. What I mean is, it starts from the left, the first stage instruction fetch, and it goes to the last stage where you write back. There are cases where we get it back. For example, when you take the R type instruction, you may have to write the result back into the register. So in that case, we have to update it from right to left. But remember, this point is to be very clearly understood. The data flow from left to right is pretty normal, and no major breakthroughs will be there, no major changes would be there, nothing more would be influenced. But when you take it from right to left, there would be changes possible in terms of you writing the data for storing the content into the registers when it is R type instruction. That is not going to change the flow, but still you need to understand that there is a mild difference. And there would be a definite impact when you write or update the program counter. Now, as I told you right in the beginning, pipelining is not something where individual instructions time frame would be reduced or individual instructions performance would be improved. It is going to be collective. So pipelining is all about seeing each of these instruction as separate data path. All these instructions are separate data path, and it is very important. Now that's what we have been discussing from yesterday. Each instruction has got its own data path, and remember this point, pipelining increases the throughput and not a single instruction's execution time. Now, sir, where do we add the registers, sir, or why do we have to think about registers in this entire process? That's what I'm going to talk about right now. When there is a processing done in one of the 5 stages, I need to move to the next stage. Whereas in the next instruction, I may have to use the component that had been previously used by some other instruction in the previous stage. So the result cannot be retained there itself. And I told you the example of the washing machine. I have washed cloths now. I cannot retain the cloths there because the next person is going to wash it. So what I will do, I need to move it to the next stage, dryer. But I cannot right away throw it to the dryer. I'll keep it in a bucket and then I'll move it to the dryer. And this intermediate stage where we are gonna have a storage medium for collecting the results temporarily is called a register, and we are supposed to have registers in between to make sure that the transition from one stage to another goes very smooth. Otherwise, we may lose the data. So to avoid the loss of data, to avoid the complexities that are involved towards getting the data from one stage to another stage, we have to go with registers, and that's what we are having right now in hand. Now, how are we going to name registers, sir? How many registers do we have? All this will be discussed right now. There are 4 stages. There are 4 lines in between, four blue lines that I have drawn in the previous thing, which got us 5 stages clearly implemented. So those 4 lines are going to be converted to be 4 registers right now, and we are going to have registers with most appropriate naming convention. You are supposed to be very careful when you name it. Remember, you cannot name it the way you want. There are naming conventions to be followed. If you miss the naming convention, that's not acceptable. So make sure that you guys follow the naming convention. The first register that you can see here out here is called, I'm moving the mouse pointer over it right now. The first register that you have it here is called as if/id. What do you mean by that, sir? This one. This is very simple. This is the register that is going to stay between the if stage, which is nothing but the instruction fetch stage, and instruction decode stage. Remember, the register which is going to be kept in between the if and id is called as if/id register. So this register has to be named as IF slash ID, and it is very important to name it that way to indicate that this register serves as something for both the stages. That's very important, right? So what is the second register name? The second register name is called ID slash EX. Why do we have to name it that way, sir? Very simple. This register is going to connect between the IF stage, I mean the previous stage, ID stage, and the next stage is EX stage. So I need to name it as ID slash EX. The previous register is called as IF slash ID because it was connected to intermediate memory, I mean instruction fetch stage and then the instruction decode stage. But here instruction decode and execution stages are connected, so I need to name it appropriately. Sir, why do we have to name it that way, sir? Very simple, I will tell you. These registers are going to be written or read. These registers, I repeat, these registers are going to be written or read by one of these two stages during the pipelining process. So, to tell the involvement and to tell the ownership of this particular register being owned by one of these two stages, we name it appropriately. This register is connected to both the stages in the pipeline. These registers are going to be read or going to be written by one of these two stages, and they are only married to these two stages, and that's why we name it as IF slash ID. Do you understand the point, all of you? So the naming convention tells that this is a register which is going to be a register to handle the input from the previous stage, and it may have to drive to the next stage with the output. Let's not mandatorily keep it that way. Let's keep it as these registers are going to be the source for handling the content from the previous stage to the next stage, and that's why we name it that way. Similarly, EXMEM. What is this EXMEM? This is nothing but the register which is going to be kept at the exit of, I mean at the EX stage, which is execution stage, and then it is also going to connect to the MEM stage. So we keep it as EXMEM. And finally, MEM and WB. MEM is nothing but the memory stage, and WB is nothing but the write back stage. So we need to connect this way. So all these four registers are named very appropriately, and this is the only way that you need to name it. Do remember it and do not change it. Now, there is a very important point to be understood right now. What is the size of the register? Sir, can we keep it as 32 all over, sir? No, you cannot keep it that way. The size of the register is to be understood properly. For an instance, the size of the registers cannot be consistent as just 32 because I may have to hold the content from the previous stage and I may have to hold the content for the next stage. I repeat it, I am holding a content from the previous stage which could be a result. I am holding the content for the next stage which could be needed as an input. So it cannot be just 32-bit. So it can keep expanding as 64, 128, 97 and 64 appropriately for each of the stages. I am giving you this as an assignment right now. How did we arrive at 128? How did we arrive at 97 has to be clarified by you. If you are not able to clarify it, I will tell you that. But remember, it is absolutely based on what is the input and what could be the output. Do you understand the question? The size of the memory is not consistent. The size of the memory gets varied. It goes with, for example, if you take IF slash ID, it will be 64-bit because it holds the instruction from memory and the PC address will also be held there. So we need to have 64-bit there. Similarly, I wish you guys think about it and tell me how exactly the number 128 is framed, how exactly the number 97 is framed. How do you come with the number saying that this should be the size of the register? This is the only thing that I am giving you as an assignment. Think about it and come back to me. If you are not able to learn it, if you are not able to figure it out, I will clarify it in the next session. Right, sir? So is this the final data path, sir? No, this is not the final data path, but we are going to live with this data path for some more time. What is that, sir? I'll tell you that now we are going to trace the data path with pipelined registers. Always remember one thing, whenever the question asks you to trace the data path, please include the pipeline registers and take this picture as the one along with control lines, because without pipelining your MIPS is nothing. Pipelining is one of the core features that all of us must appreciate towards making sure that the MIPS is understood completely. Pipelining makes MIPS complete. So without pipelining, if you trace, I don't think it is appropriate. So remember this point and do that way in the interview or wherever you are expected to do that. Now, what are we going to do, sir? We are going to trace the data path for load word. So how does the things work, sir? Very simple. Always remember, I need to read to the right and write to the left. The read happens from the right and the write happens to the left. All of you remember it, do not forget it. In this entire saga, in this entire teaching that we are making, a read always happen to the right. If I have to read, I need to read from the right hand side portion, which means I need to highlight the right side portion of the memory. That is an intimation saying that I am reading. But when you write into a memory, you need to always write into the left portion of the memory, which means you need to shade the left hand side portion, intimating that I am writing into it. Got it, all of you? I hope you remember it and you will understand that. Now, what are the first things that we are expected to do? I am going to now trace the data path for load word. What is the first stage? This is the first stage. The PC is going to be used completely. There is no writing, no reading here. So I am going to use the PC and the mux completely. So I have highlighted. Now let's come into the instruction memory. What is the first stage? I am going to read what the instruction is. I repeat, I am going to read what the instruction memory, what the instruction content is. So reading happens from the right. So I highlighted the right side of it. Now what do? I need to write it into the register called as if/id, because this is the register which is going to be kept in between the stage called as instruction fetch and instruction decode. Only after I write it into it, the content can go into this. So I need to now write it into it. Now when I have to write, I need to intimate it by shading the left portion of the register. I have shaded it right now, and you can see that the shading in blue color has been highlighted. So since it is writing into the register, the right happens to the left. The right thing happens left. The left thing happens in the right. So you can see that here. The thing that we need to read will happen in the right, but when we want to write it has to be written to the left. WRITE goes to the left. Reading happens to the right. That's what I am highlighting here, and that's what I have been trying to tell you right from the beginning today. Now what is the next stage, sir? Okay, sir, I have written into the if/id. See this here, I have written into the if/id. Now my register is written. What do I do next? I need to read from it to write it into the next stage. So what will I do? Very simple. I am reading from if/id and I am writing it into the register file. Remember, I am writing it into the register file. When you write, you need to be appropriate. I am going to read. You can see that here. When I have to read it, read happens to the right and write happens to the left. So see that here. I am going to read it from here. So I am reading it from here. Read happens from the. Did I convey it right? One second. Let me. Read happens to the right and write happens to the left. So I am reading it from here. And what we do, we will know what all the registers that we are going to take, and we will have to read the data from the register, and we are going to write it into the instruction decode and EX register. So we are reading from this by highlighting the right hand side. We are reading from the registers. We are not writing the registers. Please understand, we are reading from the registers which are designated as the registers to be read. So I am reading from it. So reading happens to the right. I have shaded it here. I have shaded it here. The entire sign extent will work. So I am shading it completely. And then I push the content onto the id/ex where I write. Write happens to the left. Now that's all. So first stage I have read from the instruction memory. Then I wrote into the if/id. Now I am reading from the if/id. After reading, I understand these are all the registers that I need to pull out. So I read it from the register file again. I write it into the id/ex. That's all. It is done. Now what is the next stage? I need to read from the id/ex. I am going to read from id/ex. Now I do that. I am reading the content out from here. So I will use the multiplexer. I will use the ALU completely. And after reading, I will get the result. When you have to write, the right happens to the left. So I am writing it into the EX/memory. Now my result is available in EX/mem. Now what is the next stage, sir? Very simple. I will have to. What is load word all about? Load word is all about reading the content from the memory location and then writing it onto the register. Correct? That's what load word is all about, right? So what do I do here? I read the content from the memory location, I write it into the mem/wb register, and then finally I'll have to write it back into the register which I have in hand. So that is what I have done right now, and the write back happens. I read from here, I write it into the register, the write has happened at the left. That's it. Do you understand this, all of you? I'll repeat it once again. I'll go through the flow once again. The load word, the data path will be like this. The first step is to read from the instruction memory. I read it. Then I need to write it into the intermediary register. So I write it into if/id. Then I'll have to go to the next stage where I need to identify what are all the registers that I need to read through. So I'll read that registers. Then I am pushing it onto the id/ex, which means I am writing into that. So write happens to the left. I write it, and then what do? I process it. I use the complete ALU. There is nothing called as ALU write and ALU read. It is used completely for computation. I computed the result. The result is available in the intermediary register. For that, I need to write the content into the intermediary register. So I write it to the left. Now the result is available. Now what are we going to do? This is a load word instruction. So we are going to load the content from the memory location to the register. We are going to read the content from the memory location to the register. So what do? I read the content and I push it onto the register file. That's it. So the register file write finally happened, and this is how we can understand how exactly the pipelined data path for the instruction load word works. Very simple and efficient. This is very easy to understand. If you guys did not understand it, you will understand it probably after I give you one more example. Then I will open it for questions and we can discuss. Is it okay, all of you? Can we go it that way? Okay. Now if you see, this is what finally we have achieved. We wanted to trace the data path, but we inserted the pipelining registers in between, which enabled us to make sure that we are getting the pipelined approach for the data path visualized. That's it. This is what we have done. Sir, what next, sir? Okay, you learned store word, load word. Now what is the next step? The next step is going to be store word. The first three steps will remain the same because it's going to be consistent. I am going to read the instruction from the instruction memory and I am going to write it into the if/id. That's what has happened. The second stage, I am going to read from if/id and I am going to read the respective registers and I am going to write it into id/ex. The third stage, I am going to read from id/ex and I am going to utilize the capacity and the power of ALU and I am going to write the result into ex/mem. So what is store word all about? Store word is all about storing the computer result or the calculated result into the memory. The memory is nothing but the data memory. I am not going to write back anything. So what will happen is I am going to take the result out from the ex/mem and I am writing it into the data memory. The write happens to the left. So I wrote it into the data memory and there is nothing there. No storage there into the register, no write back. So this stage is not going to be highlighted. This is left empty. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to give you an assignment where you need to trace the data path for the pipeline thing towards the R-type instruction and I-type instruction. Do it and keep it ready. I may ask anybody. You need not submit it. Do it and keep it ready. I'll ask anybody which can be validated at a later point in